Welcome back to another Artifact Explorations with the Kelsey Museum of Archaeology. As we have talked about in previous videos, ceramic objects are some of the most abundantly found in archaeological excavations around the world. This is due to the accessibility and nature of clay. Clay of varying qualities is found almost everywhere, and once it's fired, the vessel retains its shape. Even when archaeologists only recover fragments, they can often piece them together to get a picture of what the vessel looked like whole. The objects that we are going to look at today are some of the most commonly found throughout the Mediterranean. Amphora. As one of the most ubiquitous clay objects, amphora are found at almost every site around the Mediterranean. While you may be more familiar with the beautifully decorated Grecian amphora, like those given as prizes at the Panathenaic Games or found in Etruscan tombs, the majority of amphora were actually courseware, like these. These ancient vessels were filled with goods like oil, wine, or grain, and used for household storage and even international shipping. Amphora means carried from both sides in Greek, which could refer to the two handles found on the shoulders of these vessels, or to the spiked foot on the bottom, which meant that the vessel was carried both from the top and the bottom. The amphora that we are going to look at today are courseware and were used as shipping containers. Packed with goods from around the Mediterranean, these amphora were loaded onto carts and ships. Looking at their shape, you might think, how on earth were these good shipping containers? Well, let's look at the shape for a minute. Imagine that my hand is the top of the amphora, and my elbow is the spiked foot. Amphora would be loaded top to bottom, nestled together like this. This position would hold them in place, even when joggled by a cart or a ship on the sea. Another thing to think about is its round body. Think of eggs on your countertop. If they accidentally roll into one another, do they break? Not very often. But if they roll into something with a sharp edge, or a corner, or even a flat surface, they often crack. The round body helps protect the contents should the amphora come loose during shipment. Looking at these examples, each amphora is unique. It has a design and clay that is specific to the location where it was made. Now, most of these examples ended up in the town of Karanis between the 1st and 4th centuries CE. But by looking at the shapes of each of these amphora, we can determine where they originated. And by determining its original location, archaeologists can create a map of international trade like this one. We can see here the extensive trade relationships across the entire region. Now, ships didn't always make it to their destination safely, and we often find barnacle-encrusted amphora like these excavated from shipwrecks. You can see that these intact vessels survived the wreck, so these were very sturdy containers. Amphora weren't perfect though, and sometimes they did break. However, the broken pieces were often reused as scrap paper. We find these fragments, called ostraca, containing the receipts for transport or even receiving grain shipments. These amphora often had many second lives as well, being used for personal storage in homes and even as funerary urns. Thank you for joining us for Artifact Explorations today as we explored these courseware amphora, the shipping containers of the ancient world. We hope you enjoyed it and join us again next time.